G'day there guys, buy steak with the spice already rubbed in because I want to assert dominance on you guys that don't buy it. Back at it again with another episode of r/Am I the A-hole. Now if you love today's video like I love you, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, a like on the video, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Posted by user Bunnybox, titled, "Would I be the a-hole if I don't tell my son-in-law that his child may not be his?" Pardon my English, I have been debating myself since I came to know of this secret and would like to go against my daughter's wish. My daughter was found to have some health problems since young. We thought she became better as she grew, but apparently not, as her problems surfaced again after she became a mother and worsened as time passes. We've tried our best to help her, and her husband especially, even though we had doubts about him before in times of crisis. He never left her side and took care of both her and their son. Then there came one time when my daughter poured out her heart to me. She told her that she'd been playing around, quote unquote, before, and was not sure if her son belongs to her husband. She was afraid that he would hate her or leave them, so she kept quiet about it. However, after seeing how he stood by her side after her health declined, made her very ashamed about what she did. My daughter told me that if she ever dies, she wants me to tell her husband about the truth and have them do a test of the DNA. She couldn't bear to tell him herself, so I promised her that I will do it. But I didn't realize the day may come so soon. My daughter is now in a coma. She probably may pass any time, and it is then I remembered what she told me. However, I don't want to tell them. Her son is already 7 and her husband loves both of them deeply. There's no need for him to know, and probably no way for him to find out. If I'm the only person she told about this, then the secret can die with me. There is just this lingering feeling of guilt for failing the both of them. I'd like to discuss this with her, but she's barely conscious. Would I be the a-hole if I just kept quiet? I think my daughter may hold it against me if I don't, but as much as they deserve the truth, they are better off not knowing. I very much disagree, OP. I feel like you suck, and I feel like the daughter sucks also for cheating. It's her dying wish for you to tell him that the child may not be his and to get a DNA test. What, are you going to go against the daughter's dying wish? That's a very terrible thing for you to do, OP. I would very much reconsider that. I don't think they're better off not knowing. I feel like it's very much the opposite. I feel like as the father, that would be something I would like to know, in all honesty. But that's just my opinion. You're welcome to do whatever you want, OP, but if you don't tell her, I'm judging you a lot, because you would be the a-hole in this situation. The father is completely innocent in this. You and your daughter, not so much. Your daughter is despicable. Everyone sucks here except the poor child and poor husband. Being sick is no free pass for being an a-hole. It's one thing to cheat and raise a child with someone who you're not sure is the father. That already makes OP's daughter a terrible person. But the way she wants to reveal it to her husband makes it so much worse. She's too chicken to tell him herself, so she emotionally blackmails her mother to do it when she's no longer around to have to deal with the fallout. Her husband will not be able to get angry at her betrayal because he has to mourn her death and help a mourning child at the same time. If the husband can't cope, her kid loses both parents at the same time. It's unbelievably selfish that she'd decide to seriously hurt 3 other people rather than facing the consequences of her actions. And OP is a terrible parent for enabling her. The fact that the daughter even thought about doing that might be because she was too coddled as a sick child. Regardless, after the first conversation, OP should have either told her to come clean or told the husband herself instead of landing them in a situation that cannot possibly have a decent outcome for any of the innocent parties in this. This is why I find deathbed confessions to be absolute bullcrap. You don't get to mess up someone's life and then just leave. That's so crappy. And this is really what it is. The daughter wants to die with a clear conscience, which is incredibly selfish considering all the damage she would do to everyone left behind. I wish I could remember the story where I found this, but it's a response to a confession made just before the person went to war. It means absolutely nothing hours before you plan to die, he interrupts. Water on sand, words written in air. Those have more permanence than repentance followed by suicide by proxy. Not the a-hole. Your daughter is very much the a-hole, but the only thing a paternity test would do now is possibly further traumatize an innocent 7-year-old already faced with losing his mother. Agreed. This poor child will already have enough issues dealing with the death of his mother. I disagree. If it's true, imagine that kid doing an ancestry kit or something one day. With the popularity of online heritage-based DNA testing, people up and down the globe are finding out about all sorts of lies. Regardless, OP should have forced her daughter to tell her husband before, and whatever happens now is a terrible outcome for the only truly innocent people in this story. Honestly, if I were OP, I would write off the kid doing an ancestry kit down the line as a you problem. Father will have an easier time dealing with the fact that the kid isn't his, if that is the case, at any time other than after losing his wife during a global pandemic. Kid deserves to be raised by a father who loves him, and he has one now. It doesn't matter if the kid is biologically his, he had raised him since he was a baby. I'm not going to pass judgment much, but I will say that I don't think I would tell him. If I were him, I wouldn't want to know. His wife is dying. I can only imagine what finding out that his child may not even be his and his wife's infidelity would do to him. If anything, maybe get the test done yourself. If he is the father, then never mention it. But there are other ways they could find out the truth. Let's say they get contacted by a man in a few years who says he thinks he's the girl's actual father. Or they do the 23andMe thing and find out they aren't biologically related. Or the kid needs a kidney to save his life, and the father turns out to not be a match. That would be a very awkward conversation with the doctor. Parents are often not matches. It all depends on blood type, and the match is a toss-up of Punnett squares. Alright, this one made me laugh out of surprise. I'm going to include this one just because it's like, what the? Lamau? Today I learned that cheating and lying is okay as long as it's a dying woman. You are all disgusting just like OP's daughter. Yikes. I haven't passed judgment and won't because this is crazy, but to be fair, the other comments are about the husband and not about letting the wife get away with infidelity. They're saying that his wife is already dying and he's dealing with a lot, so telling him right now would fudging crush his soul. Yeah, he deserves to know, duh, but this isn't black and white. You got that as well? The mental gymnastics in this thread. How people can, with a straight face, say that it's right to keep this information from the son-in-law. Paternity fraud is an evil thing to do. But you know what? It don't matter. Just keep the poor chump paying for the daughter's crappy decisions. But it's not the kid's fault. Yeah, it ain't. It ain't the son-in-law's fault either. Life sucks. Buy a helmet. Well, I know someone whose brother committed suicide upon finding out that he wasn't the father of his 2-year-old daughter, along with the fact that his wife had cheated on him. All you guys think about is the truth, and not how it'll affect the people it hurts. Sure, I do agree that the son-in-law deserves to know the truth eventually, but not at such a fragile time right now, especially when it could be all for naught, because he might be the father after all. Anecdotal evidence means absolutely nothing. Oh my god, the comments are so heated. Oh my god. Posted by user ThrowRA titled, Am I the a-hole for yelling and embarrassing my partner for playing with himself? So this past week, it was that time of the month again. Sometimes mine are really bad and last more than a week. It was that way this time. Well, my husband had been in the bathroom for a really long time. I knocked and he said he'd be out soon. I tried to open the door and to my surprise, it was unlocked. I walked in and was a little disgusted at what I saw. He was touching himself. He quickly stopped when I opened the door. I was shocked and asked him what he was doing. He looked really embarrassed and said, I think you already know. I told him this was unacceptable and just gross for him to do this, especially behind my back. He assured me that he wasn't watching porn and was instead looking at pictures of me while doing it. Nonetheless, I still said that I didn't like him doing this and requested that he stop immediately. He agreed, but has yet to be normal around me since then. He seems to be very embarrassed. In my point of view, I believe that what I said and did was completely warranted. But with his reaction, I wanted to see what other people's opinions were on this. Did I handle this the wrong way? Was I being an a-hole? Come on, is a man not allowed to have some privacy, have some time to himself, investigate the bishop and his misdoings? Reunite with an old acquaintance of his, perchance? Is it really disgusting that your husband was doing that? Obviously, you don't want to have sex on your period, and that's your prerogative. Everyone's fine to do that. But if he wants to get off, can a man not get off? Assaulting him for that verbally and embarrassing him and making him feel less than. It's not yours or anyone's place to do that. And trust me, I've read the r/dead bedroom subreddits. I know it's actually quite a common thing in some relationships. At least in that subreddit, it's a very depressing subreddit. But yeah, no, you were being the a-hole in this situation. You did handle it the wrong way, OP, I'm sorry to say. Complete you're the a-hole. He was touching himself. He doesn't need your consent or anyone else's to do so, even if he was watching porn. You're the a-hole. Just because you're in a relationship with someone doesn't mean they get to dictate whether or not they masturbate. This seems like very controlling behavior. I don't care what other people's opinions are, or what the established rules are to the relationship you've entered into. People who don't let their partners masturbate are the worst. Wait, there are people who don't actually let their partners masturbate? What? This is the first time I've ever heard of that wild concept. I've seen it a bunch, and I've also seen Am I the A-hole threads where people have been ticked that their partner is masturbating, and instead being like, OP, you suck, the commenters are like, well, then you aren't compatible and should break up to find someone who shares your views. Which, I'll be real, it's not wrong sometimes. If you're not compatible sexually and your partner takes it to the point where they're shunning you, it's not wrong to go find someone you're actually compatible with. Posted by user Sarah Tonwi, titled, Am I the a-hole for cutting off my daughter's allowance? My 37 female husband, 36, of 2 years, and the stepfather of my daughter, was recently banned from Uber. The problem is, he works as a DJ, and part of his job description is partying into the early hours of the next day. By the end of his last gig, he's cranky, sweaty, and in no condition to drive. Unfortunately for us, my job is in the startup field, and often involves late-night projects, in which my teammates and I are also drinking a lot to keep morale up. The combination of a stressed-out me and an overly critical version of my husband at 3 a.m. isn't a good one. Meanwhile, my daughter, 16, recently got her driver's license. So I asked that she drive him to his gigs and pick him up. Pretty simple task, especially since it's summer and she'd be up anyway. Right away, my husband told me she started complaining if she feels that he's going to too many venues for one night, or if he smells a certain way, or is telling her she's driving too quickly. Last Friday, I was away on a business trip and only got back this morning. The moment I walk in the door, my daughter says she had to wait until 4 a.m. 2 nights in a row and that she was done. My husband tells me my daughter was purposely driving unsteadily and calling him below-the-belt insults. So I go up to her room and remind her that our jobs provide her with her decent allowance and that we barely even ask her to do other chores. When she said she's not picking him up anymore, I ended up taking away her allowance. Her friend's mum called me asking me why I was doing this. My daughter had texted saying she couldn't buy her a 16th birthday present for the friend's party anymore, and I explained it was a family matter. Am I the a-hole? I feel since my daughter is old enough, she needs to contribute to help her parents out, and if she cared enough about the family, she'd be offering to make our lives easier. It's not like my husband was just going out partying, he's out there trying to earn an income. I disagree with you guys as parents keeping your 16-year-old daughter out there till 4 a.m, in the car by herself, out in nightclubbing districts. It's not only unsafe, and it's unfair on her. Do you mean by your husband being cranky, sweaty, and in no condition to drive, as in he's boozing himself up while he's doing these DJ sets out in clubs? That kinda sounds like a him problem, not a your daughter problem to solve, OP. He's an adult, he should be conducting himself accordingly and making sure that he's able to drive himself home after the end of his shifts. That's not on your 16-year-old daughter to solve, and it's not cool to cut off her allowance just because she doesn't want to stay out there till 4 a.m. and deal with him. No, you're the a-hole. Your daughter is a kid, not a 4 a.m. taxi service. If your husband is such an a-hole that he got banned from Uber, I don't blame her for not wanting to drive him around. Yeah, you completely skimmed over the banned from Uber part. What kind of a-hole gets banned from Uber? You're the a-hole. And why is he not using one of the literally other dozen pickup apps? Lyft is a thing. Hell, even old school taxis exist. You're the a-hole. Your husband and you need to get your alcoholism under control. Staying up late for work is no excuse to drink profusely. Relying on a child to clean up your issues is wrong. Forcing a child to drive her drunk, smelly, belligerent stepfather around at 4 a.m. is awful. This part kills me. It's in no way a requirement that a DJ gets so drunk while working that they can't drive. I don't know what's more ridiculous. That he can't seem to not get belligerently drunk every single night? Surely that affects his work performance. Or that the mother is trying to excuse her daily drunkenness on working on late projects. Last time I checked, if you're trying to stay up late for a project, you are slamming back coffee and energy drinks, not alcohol, which is a literal depressant. Posted by user Throw23Away. Titled, Am I the a-hole for reducing my daughter's already limited free time? My 43 male daughter, 16 female, is currently studying 8 hours per day for her college tests. I am very strict with her study time and make sure she is indeed studying and not wasting time, since she wants to pass in a very hard course. That leaves her with about 4 hours of free time, where I used to let her do whatever she wanted. She likes to watch drama series and browse on her social media mainly. Recently, I've begun thinking that she's spending way too much time doing these things that won't help her get into college, so I decided to do a new rule, where she needs to read in order to get time with her electronics. Basically, if she reads for an hour, she can use her phone, or other electronics for an hour as well. Of course, she hated this rule, and is currently very upset at me, saying I reduced her already limited free time, and that doing this won't help her at all. It will only add more stress. We are both very short-tempered, and we can't talk reasonably without arguing, so I decided to ask here to see if I'm on the wrong side. I do want her to have time to do what she wants, but I also want her to read the books that are valuable for her college tests. Here in my country, there's a list of mandatory books that you need to read for the tests. Am I really the a-hole here? Is she just being dramatic? Edit. It's good to know that we're not from the US. Here where I live, college tests don't offer a lot of second chances. I know that in the US you have to have a pre-med degree or something like that. Here you just have to pass this extremely hard and competitive test in order to go to med school. That's why she has to study so much. The grade she has to get in order to pass is very high. In her previous years of high school, she studied much less. She's okay with that, just to clarify, not forcing this on her either. Edit. Just to clarify a few things, she does want to study medicine. I didn't force that on her, she chose it on her own. She does take breaks in between. It's not 8 hours straight, it's 4 hours in the morning with 30 minutes as a break, 1 hour for lunch, 4 hours in the afternoon, 30 minutes break as well. Sorry for not clarifying that. Edit. There's a lot of people criticizing my relationship with my daughter. I realized I was in the wrong and talked to her so that we could work a better schedule that incorporates her reading and still gives her time to do what she likes. We always work together on her schedules. Sometimes I'm a little overbearing, and I do realize that now. Please don't make such rude comments, as we actually get along pretty well. I meant well and just wanted her to focus. Thank you for changing my mind. Edit. Since there's a lot of people asking, we're from Brazil. Medicine is our most competitive subject. You have to practically ace a test called ENEM, our equivalent to SATs, in order to get a slight chance to get in. 8 hours is actually pretty uncommon here. Most students who want to go do a lot more than what I think is reasonable and do so for more than 1 year in order to pass. I feel like you're putting unnecessary restrictions on your daughter. If she wants to pass this test, she can do that on her own time. A little overbearing is a little bit of an understatement in this situation, OP. Feel like you're being a lot overbearing. I understand that it's a hard test to get into, but she's going to crack under the pressure if you're not allowing her time to cool off and time to, walk away from that stress of studying for a bit. I feel like you do lack empathy for her in this situation because I don't feel like you can put yourselves in her shoes. Don't know if you're understanding the stress that she's under, OP. But the fact that you realize you're an a-hole is good, and thank God you're working to help her pass that test now when everyone's flamed you. Still, you're the a-hole. This is a stellar way to ensure that you don't have a relationship with your daughter once she moves out. She's already studying 8 hours a day. That's more than enough. Let her have her 4 hours to allow her brain to decompress however she wants. Our brain needs to relax after we've loaded them with information. I'll just say this. This isn't the right way to learn. This is exactly what not to do. You're the a-hole. I'm also from a country where the national exams are pretty much the ones that count towards college, and sorry, I just can't agree. It's wrong from an educational point of view. And she won't get anything out of cramming other than forgetting everything in a few days due to stress. OP, you should go on Coursera and watch this course, Learning How to Learn, Powerful Mental Tools to Help You Master Tough Subjects. It's quite helpful, and it gives you the right information about studying based on neurological functioning. Also, your daughter could also benefit from seeing it. Spoiler alert, doing something completely different, such as a hobby or doing sports, does help consolidate the information. I just copy-pasted that one. If you guys want to watch that, it's actually for free on Vimeo, surprisingly. I'm probably going to watch it later just in my downtime so I can help my kids in the future. I feel like that's a good thing to do. Just Google that phrase and you'll find the Vimeo video if you want to watch it. Isn't OP pushing her to not cram by studying more in the months leading up to the test instead of right before? It's still cramming if she's doing 12 hours a day. In my personal experience, this is also a great way to make her hate studying and not want to do it willingly when she is no longer forced to. If you keep this up, OP, you will be lucky if her grades only tank for a semester or two. Studying will have to be something that she, if not enjoys, at least feels comfortable doing so she can maintain her grades. That freedom of moving out and being able to watch her dramas whenever she wants will very likely be too tempting to not go overboard with at first. Let her find her own equilibrium, OP. She seems like she's pretty smart and can figure out a balance if you stop essentially making studying a punishment. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. Studying is more effective with breaks. If you're concerned about making sure she reads the books, then break up her study time with some reading. But 4 hours a day is very little time to decompress from everything, and forcing her to spend yet more time working will only add to her tension. It will not help her learn. And OP says, I hear you. I will talk to her and try to sort something out. Thank you, OP. Very cool. Posted by user AmiTheA Gumball. Titled, Am I the a-hole for selling my son's PS3? I, 42 male, recently bought a PS4 for my son, 13 male. It cost around $350 dues. After I bought the PS4, I sold my son's PS3 since he had a new video game. He doesn't need it anymore, and that's what I felt. But when my son found out that I'd sold his PS3, he was livid. He called me names and went to the bedroom. He even refused to open the new PS4 that I'd bought for him. His mother, my ex, told me that I was an a-hole for selling the PS3 without asking him. But it was me who bought it for him, and I had every right to sell it. Am I the a-hole for selling the PS3? Man, that just brings back memories from back in the day. I had a friend, Ziggy. He had an Xbox, and we were playing Call of Duty World at War on it, just constantly playing the zombies maps over and over again. And one day we go over to play, again, like always, and the Xbox is just gone. His dad was just like, I need the money. I'm selling your Xbox. So that was a depressing day. I think his dad used it for drugs, but never know with that household. There was a ping pong table that appeared one day and disappeared the next, so you never know with that household. But anyway, I felt like the dad was an a-hole in that situation, so I stand by it in this one. You don't just sell the PS3 without talking to the son first. You pulled a quick one on him, and he obviously liked his PS3, even though it's like, I want to have a PS3 and a PS4. Maybe he liked his PS3 a lot. I don't know. Maybe you should have talked to your son before selling it, OP. That would have been a smart thing to do. I'm sure you had every right to sell it, but then he also has every right to his emotions from you selling it. You're the a-hole. Edit. I know that I'm an a-hole for selling his PS3 and intend to get it back if possible. And many of you pointing me out as an abusive parent, not every parent is perfect and they have their flaws. Like being abusive. Cut it with bringing up red flags and abusive parents into the question. I value my son's happiness more than anything, and do not please imply the opposite. Edit 2. Stop messaging me saying that I'm a bad father, and my son deserves better. It hurts, okay? Yes, it hurts to be called out. That's kind of what you get for being a sucky parent, I'm sorry. You're the a-hole. You can't play PS3 games on a PS4. You might have bought it, but it was his. Parents like you need to learn boundaries and communicate with words. Not only all this, but literally all his saved game data was on there. He might have games he'd been playing for a long time with progress that he was proud of just tossed away in an instant. Or that one dude racing his dead dad's ghost from the save file. Oh god. Someone says I don't get the reference. It was a racing game story. Sometimes there's ghosts of the past racer that you have to beat to overwrite. In the story, OP's dad loved the game but died recently. He left the ghost on the game. OP would play the game and slowly get better than the ghost, but would always stop before the finish line so he could always play with his dad. That's tragic, oh my god. Anyway, sorry for the detour. Kick to the Rib says, okay, listen here OP. There are multiple reasons why you're the a-hole. 1. PS3 games cannot be played on a PS4 system. If you sold all of his PS3 games as well, then you just gave perfectly viable games away, and even if he already beat the games, they're still perfectly viable to play. But he can't because you gave away the same system that runs them. 2. Parents like you should learn the difference between a gift and property. You gave your son the PS3, it was a gift. So even though you paid for it, it is his. And now I'm not sure about the laws of your country, so maybe he isn't legally able to own possessions because he's a minor, but if that's how you think about your child, then you have more issues than just having sold his PS3. Bottom line is you disrespected your son by giving away his game console or selling his game console. Doesn't really matter. His game console is gone because of you, he's hurt by that, so fix it by talking to your child. As other commenters have already said, communicate with your child. Posted by user Lena JG. Titled, Am I the a-hole for claiming I'm infertile when I'm actually not? I, female 22, work in a small goldsmithy. It's just me, my boss, male 54, and from time to time an older guy, E. comes around and helps us repairing watches. E. is genuinely a nice person. Is this wordplay for idiot? E. But he is sexist, which really annoys me for obvious reasons. Every time I wear a wide dress or a shirt that's oversized, he asks me if I'm pregnant. Not in a "you're fat" way. I told him multiple times to stop, because it makes me uncomfortable and I feel like it's none of his business, and also it's an inappropriate question. So today he asked me again, and I finally had enough and told him no, I'm infertile, because I knew this would shock him and I wanted to teach him a lesson about asking inappropriate questions to people you barely know. Like, I'm not infertile, but I could be. He looked at me in shock and mumbled, "Huh, really?" And I said no, but I bet you feel stupid now. Now, both my boss and him are angry because they think I crossed a line and that I should show some respect because he's old. I think if I have to listen to his bullcrap, he has to listen to mine as well. Am I the a-hole? Nah, not the a-hole. Old men need to learn they can't talk to young women like this. It's completely inappropriate, and you even told him before that it makes you uncomfortable, and he still continued. You didn't cross a line, but he did every time he asked you about being pregnant. Agreed. When my parents were struggling with fertility issues, someone at a party was pressuring them to explain why they hadn't had any kids. My mum didn't want to get into the whole multiple miscarriages, 12 before I was born FYI, thing, and tried to get him to back off. But nope, he kept pushing. The drinking probably didn't help. Finally, she gave up and said, well, it's because I was biologically born a man. I've always been a woman deep down, and have always known I was supposed to be a woman, but I wasn't born that way, and I'm afraid I can't have children because of it. This was way back before being transgender was a well-known thing, but my mum's was ahead of a lot of people in understanding and supporting trans rights. Some might think it was inappropriate. Apparently my grandpa nearly spit his drink out, but this guy would not shut up, and she didn't want to have to share her story of her infertility with him. After she said it, he finally shut up, though apparently he kept staring at her throughout the night. The thing is, she could have been born a man, and OP could have been infertile. Besides it not being your business, that's why you don't ask. Because an innocent question can be anything but, depending on what someone's going through. No word on what he thought when he found out she was pregnant, or if he ever did. I don't know how close he is to the family. I think this was at a wedding or something. Your mum sounds awesome, and I totally agree with not the a-hole. I have PCOS and most likely can't have children because of it, or I would have to undergo many treatments and even surgery to have a chance to have some. When people ask me about having kids and I explain it to them, they always pressure me about it, come up with solutions, like surrogacy, etc., and tell me to not give up hope and to try everything. As if having biological children is the only purpose of a woman. If I would want to have kids in the future, I would rather adopt instead of trying for years and undergoing many medical treatments for a chance of getting pregnant. Yeah, what he did say was incredibly insensitive. Honestly, can't back anything that old man said. Actually, it's genuinely so rude to say that, and it's definitely one way to put it in perspective by OP saying that, and I completely back OP for shutting them down in the best way they could. Obviously, telling him to stop and trying to get him to stop multiple times wasn't effective. We had to take a, harsher route. Could have been true. The old man could have been doing some big mental damage without him not even realizing, so OP definitely not the a-hole in this situation. Alright guys, that's where I'm going to end today's video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something that you didn't know before. If you haven't already, please do feel free to click that like button, as it really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't already and you loved today's video, please feel free to subscribe. I would love it a lot. Also, big shout out to all my Patreon members and channel subscribers. You guys are all up on the screen right now. I love you. I love your faces. Also, I love seeing you guys all chatting down below in the comments. It brightens my day to see the stories that you guys share and just the kind words you guys always have for my videos, as well as everyone else in the videos. I love you too. But honestly, your ongoing support means the world to me, and I just love it so much that you guys are able to support a career for myself that I invest so much time into. And you guys honestly motivate me to work harder each and every day to put more love into the videos for you guys. If you guys have watched this far in the video and you haven't already subscribed on Patreon or become a channel member, that's cool, you don't have to, but there are links down below. You can donate any amount of money, pledge that any month, cancel whenever. I'm completely cool with it. It's just there for you to support me if you'd like to go the extra mile. And I'll go the extra mile for you guys by putting out new amazing content every single day. With that said guys, I really hope you have a good day, night, sleep, bath, time at work, whatever you're up to today. This has been Markee. I'll see you in the next amazing video. Bye.